All right, everyone. We are so excited that you're here. This is one of our favorite things to do is to connect with you all and learn from each other. So if you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat, name, role, college, who inspires you. And speaking of people that inspire you, I'd like to uh, tell you about Claire Laughlin, who's going to be our lead trainer for today, someone that has inspired me for a long time. So as you know, our topic is engagement, and I couldn't think of a better person to kind of lead us in that discussion today. So Claire has a master's degree as just a really dynamic and engaging trainer and consultant who uses a lot of experiential and innovative methods to help teams and organizations achieve results. In fact, I've seen her do this in person on different occasions. And with every client, she really seeks to build the individual leadership potential and positive communication habits and enhance trust among and between team members. In fact, she's got quite a body of work out there around the topic of trust. And as an independent consultant and trainer with 20 plus years of experience, she also has a background in management, a huge body of work around transformation, and a real passion for improving relationships in all of her work. So really grateful to Claire for being the lead on this today.
Thank you, Jonathan. You inspire me as well. In fact, we have quite a little thing going between the three of us, just in inspiring one another. It is my pleasure to introduce Rayanne Ianello. And Rayanne has been a dear friend for many, many years. Rayanne has presented online workshops for over 15 years. She was doing online work before any of us were kind of getting our heads in that game. She holds a master's degree in communication and 2 teaching credentials and a certificate in human resource management and a master trainer certificate from NUMMI. So Rayanne's got all the credentials backing her, but her experience really speaks for itself. She's got over 20 years of business experience, and she's worked as a director of business development, a human resources manager, a corporate trainer, and a college professor. And Rayanne and I go way back, as I said, and she has inspired me for many, many years. And so I'm super excited to be here with Rayanne today.
And good morning, everyone. You can see we are fans of each other. We love doing this. And I have the immense pleasure of introducing Jonathan Bissell, who's not only my boss, but he is the executive director at CCCE Corporate Training Solutions at San Mateo Community College District. He is a seasoned leader with expertise in designing and delivering training programs for U.S. and international private and public sector organizations. He's a certified contract trainer, certified executive coach, high performance patterns coach, board certified coach, ACC, ICF credentialed coach, and a milestone coach with the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center's Milestone Maker Startup Founder Acceleration Program. They're testing me to see if I could say that again 20 times. Jonathan is the recipient of the 2020 Star Performer Award for Leadership by the California Community College's CETAP, as well as the 2020 International Facility Management Association IFMA Foundation Award of Excellence. And beside that, he is a phenomenal person. We hope to work with all of you today and look forward to working together.
All right, that is enough about us. This is all about you. We just wanted to give you a sense of the people that you're going to be spending a lot of time with, but we are super excited to focus on you today and on this great topic of engagement. So Claire, take us away.
All right, thanks everybody. Okay, so thank you for your introductions in the chat. Welcome to all of you. We have a nice intimate class here so far. And so we will get to know each other quite well, I'm sure. Today, we always like to start with what we call the most important takeaway. And so we'll learn a little bit more about this in our class on Thursday. But our most important takeaway for this series together is this. What we hope, what we've designed this course to do is we hope that you'll be inspired to create connected content by using the right tools and strategies and platforms to maximize the engagement of your participants. So we've designed everything around that particular primary objective. And that is the most important takeaway. To do that, we've got a little roadmap. Day one, that's today, we're learning about the tools and strategies of engagement. How do you get people in real time to show up and be engaged in this online environment? On day two, that's Thursday, we're gonna be together a little longer. We're gonna talk about designing for real change. So it's the principles of transformation built into the training course itself. On day three, you'll be presenting your plans. So we give you a little break and give you some time to put the things that we've talked about in class 1 and class 2 into action in a short presentation of your own. And we'll do that together on day 3. And on day 4, we capture the lessons learned. All of this is designed to prepare you for a future in which you create and build a profitable and strategic training business, because online engagement helps you do that. So that is what this is all about. We are here, day 1. Today we will specifically, we're gonna meet new colleagues and make new friends. That's gonna be a lot of fun. We're hopefully get you excited about building a highly engaging class and really drawing your attention to the importance of that. We're gonna pull back the curtain and expose the underlying structure of engagement and what it takes to be engaged, you know, in an online environment. And we're going to review various tools and apps even to enhance engagement. We'll make a plan to enhance engagement in one of your courses. That's one of our activities at the end of today. And then we're going to review a simple rubric that will help you assess the quality of your course. That is the rubric that we're going to use when we're looking at your presentations on day 3. And so as a result of that, you'll understand the requirements for success and certification in this boot camp. As you all know, this is a certification course. Okay, oops, sorry. So our meeting guidelines today, when we're here together, keep your cameras on if you can. Chris, we know why you can't, and that's perfectly fine. You're going to be in listen only mode. But for the rest of you, if you can keep your cameras on, that's wonderful. We appreciate it. Minimize distractions, but of course distractions happen, so that's just fine. By all means, participate. That is the essence of engagement. Get engaged in chat. You can always use chat as kind of a sidebar in a sense. Participate in the polls, get engaged in the breakout rooms. We'll help and show you exactly how to do that, of course. And we will put resources as we go along. We'll add some resources to the chat. So just so you know, they'll be there. We'll point your attention to those as we go. That's our meeting guidelines. So let's jump right in. We want to talk about why engagement. That is our topic for today. And engagement is really, really important, right? There's at least 3 things that are really true when it comes to engagement. And that is that when your people are truly engaged, it allows you to really understand the needs of your audience, okay? When they're engaged, it delivers results for them. As you well know, it's very hard to get real results if you're only sort of half in, right? So we've got to work on engagement so that people really deliver, that they get the results that they came for. Because when you do those 2 things, when you really understand their needs and you deliver those results, they get results from their participation, what you end up with are satisfied customers and repeat business. And in the world of contract ed, we know how important it is to have that repeat business. We're all usually working very lean, and it's important for us to help people really get the results that they came for so that they see us as a place to come when they really want to make progress. So let's get to know each other. This is an important introductory activity. We're going to go into our first breakout room. Now we've got a small group today, so when we come back to do the report out here, it'll be nice because I think we can do a little round robin and get to hear each other's voices. But right now, I want you to go into a little breakout room. We're going to split you into 2 groups. You're going to introduce yourselves to one another, name and college, of course. And then I want you to talk a little bit about the most engaging online experience you've had as maybe a participant or as a teacher is fine. But what comes to mind for you about what makes a really engaging online experience? Describe it for your partners in class. Think about what made it so and prepare to share. think about when you come back, we'll ask you to share some of the things that make an engaging online experience. Okay. So what are the contributors to an online experience that is truly engaging?
And if you notice that little camera icon there, that's basically your cue to go ahead and take a photo of that screen so you can look at it when you move into the breakout. So leave that up for 10 seconds for you to take a quick photo.
Yeah, hold up your camera or do a screenshot. That way you'll have the instructions when you get in there.
As long as one person in each group does that. So just give a thumbs up if you've been able to capture that.
Good.
All right.
Okay, all right.
All
good.
right, that's enough people. Let me go ahead and put us in. So we'll just be in for 5 minutes.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, I would love to have you guys unmute yourselves if you wouldn't mind. We are going to do a little exercise. This is a demonstration for us as well of one way of using an app outside of Zoom to get a little more engagement. We'd love to hear about what you did in your breakout room. So Jonathan's going to put a link in the chat. And that link goes to an app called Mentimeter. If you just click the link, you'll go to a place called menti.com. And is everybody okay with using the link? If you just use the link, that's the easiest way to do it.
Yes.
You go to that link or you go to menti, menti.com, and you use code 1938 4243. You're going to be able to put in some answers to a question. And the question is, what are the things that make an engaging online experience? We asked you to go to your breakout room and come up with a list of contributors. We'd like you to go into menti.com, use code 1938 4243, and list some things that make an engaging online experience.
So I didn't have to enter a code. It just brought me up when you gave me the link.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah. The link. No, the link will do it. If you don't have the link, you'd have to go
got it.
to Menti. Thank you for clarifying. Sorry about that. Sorry for the confusion. So what's going to happen here, my friends, is that we are going to create a word cloud together. There it is. As you are entering your words, we are going to get a very cool word cloud that shows us the things that make an engaging online experience. Okay. Nice. Role play, prizes, groups, participation, fun, games, feedback, interactive. I love it. Let's see what else. Okay, questions and answers, warm welcome, activities, prizes. All right, you guys, this is great. The why is there. Gotta love it. Let's see, did everyone put their answers in online? I'm reading Lisa's body language and I'm thinking Lisa might still be adding something. I hope so. All right, while we do this, while people finish this up, we'd love to just have you give us some shout outs. Tell us about your breakout room experience and what you think makes an engaging online experience. We've got this word cloud that's coming up. Give us some of the backstory. What are some of these engaging experiences that you've had? Who would like to start?
I'll start. I'm Sophia.
Hi, Sophia.
Hey. For me, as I shared with the group, it was a panel discussion. I believe there were 5 panelists, and the facilitator was exceptional. She had the ability to be a strong listener, transition from one panelist to the other with ease.
Yeah.
She also communicated and connected with the persons that were asking the questions.
Nice, nice. Okay, very good. I like that. So a panel experience can be really nice as well. Now, Sophia, were you on the panel or were you?
No.
Okay.
I was in the audience. It was a
You're in the
conference, and I did ask a question because I know how hard it is to get people to participate.
Right. And thank you for chiming in so quickly. That dead space. Now, another tactic, of course, for that is, I'm sure you know, is just to call on people and to just say, thank you, Sophia. Joel, we're going to come to you next, and then we're going to come to you, Lisa. And so we'd love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, when I went into the group, I really couldn't think of what my most engaging, but I appreciated Dan's comments in there because it reminded me of some of my classes where people were engaged by talking, participating. So, you know, even in my Excel, my Word, my PowerPoint, my Google Apps classes, the more people talked, the more fun it was. And even in my dance classes, after we would dance or I would instruct, we'd after each dance, we'd get back together and we'd all talk about the dance. So where participants are interacting and there's a lot of talking amongst participants.
Right.
Dan reminded me that probably makes the most engaging Zoom for me.
Nice. Thanks, Joel. Very good. And Lisa, how about you? What you have a little to share here?
I was a participant at an economic forum here in Ventura County, and one of the instructors from Channel Islands University always has his students do a lot of research on whatever the topic is. And he always has these great graphs, and he also has the students on there too. So you get more of a viewpoint, and I think it's not that you're engaged by participating, but they use different ways of not just speaking, but having the graphics too. Really good slides, really good slide deck.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. So you get that visual channel as well, right? And that definitely appeals to some people very strongly. I mean, to all of us, it appeals to some degree, but some people are super visual. So that's important. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, who's next? I want to hear from everybody. Since we have a small group, it just makes a lot of sense for us to hear everyone's voice if we can real quick. How about you, Samantha, and then Clark?
Yes, so I think the best online interaction I've had like for a training was learning how to coach others or train others. And we were learning about different learning styles, different personalities, and we did a really fun quiz that kind of just helped you learn what your personal learning style is or communication style. And then it related it to like an animal. So you were either, you were like a
turtle or
a whale or this or that, or a tiger. But it was kind of fun. And, it made it more fun than everyone would discuss, how they would communicate just based off of their style. So it was cool. It was more interactive.
So they made it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're getting this flavor that these engaging online experiences are engaging because they matter to us and they're personal, right? They're connected in this way. Clark, what do you have to add?
Well, I would say my experience with Zoom is I'm lucky that I'm even on this. I really have not had I've never taught on Zoom. The two community colleges that I work with are saying we would like to have you do this. I have taught in various from junior high all the way up to universities, and always in front of people for 45 years.
Yeah.
The Zoom thing is completely new. And while everyone else had already logged in on Menti, I'm still trying to figure out how to get there. So just be patient with me. But, I put down that I think that you almost need to be able to read the people through the screen.
Yeah.
And you can do that really easy when you are with people. But I think it's harder to engage them through the screen. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of where I am.
Well, it seems like you are in the right place, Clark. We hope to get you really up to speed here. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll do everything we can to support you and help you create a great class that you can practice with us. Okay, you can practice with us. Okay, let's see. How about Dan and Nicole, and then we'll come to you, Thomas. She's just logging on here, but I'll get you up to speed before we welcome you. Hi, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Well, yeah. One of the things that I had shared for myself, I think content has to be relevant. You have to figure out a way to make it relevant to the participants. I think that helps make it engaging. That they can get something out of it, something they can practically apply. But something that Sophia said, I thought, well, that's interesting. She mentioned in one of the panels that she was in, what they did is they gave prizes, and so that kept her engaged because there were prizes she wanted to win. I thought, well, we are kind of motivated that way.
Right.
So again, I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, maybe a little thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously I'm sure there's issues with, budgets and things like that, how practical it can be. But I thought that was really interesting because again, and especially if you can tie that to the content, to the learning outcomes, be a great way to keep people engaged and paying attention, because there's a little bit of motivation there to
Absolutely
stay engaged. So
yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, these are all great things. We're going to share a lot of best practices with you. You guys are nailing them. This is all good stuff. It's a matter of really getting that stuff into your class for sure. How about you, Nicole?
Nicole,
sorry.
yeah.
All right. So I thought a little bit more about it since we were in the breakout room. So mine's two-part. As a student, when I get to be involved in group projects and things like that, where, you get to present in front of your peers as well as your instructor, and then get that feedback from everybody, that I think is the most engaging part of being in an online class, because otherwise you feel like you're alone and you're just learning by yourself,
Right.
and you don't really get anything except for your grades.
Yeah.
And then from like a work perspective, because I work for a tech company and we obviously went remote last year. And so one of the things, being in charge of HR that I did was made sure that everybody still feels like they're included and they're all one big team and they're not in an isolated spot in their,
Right.
computer dungeon or whatever the case may be. And so we use Slack, and I'll post like trivia questions, or like we have one person that thinks he's the king of dad jokes. And so he'll post a random dad joke here and there and just stuff like that, so that everybody can kind of laugh and break up our day, instead of coding all day, because it gets a little boring. Just making sure that we're all still part of the same team.
Nice. So great, Nicole. This is it, you guys. It's about breaking that barrier, that technology barrier that is between us. And Thomas, hi, welcome.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
There you are. Nice to meet you.
Meet you as well. Thank you.
Hey, we just are sharing one thing that you think makes a very engaging online experience. And by all means, Thomas, tell us where you're from as well, what college you're with.
Yes, I'm San Bernardino Community College, and I think that the first question was, what are the tools that I use?
Just one thing that you think makes a very engaging online experience.
Interaction, just having people unmute themselves and answer questions, or use the chat feature to get them engaged that way. That seems to be pretty helpful.
Yeah, good. Nice, Thomas. Thank you and welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Yeah, so this is great. We have a small group today, so we're able to modify a little bit and hear everyone's voices and get everyone engaged. And that is exactly what we're here to do, to really talk about how do you do these things? How do you really focus your teaching on the people that you're with? Okay, so we're going to go back to our screen.
Can I just add something from the meeting to the breakout room that I was in, just connecting with other people who are doing things that are very similar to what we're doing, making those connections. From the last boot camp we did, I was actually able to connect with 3 people that resulted in more business for all of us through the connection. So when we're in these breakout rooms, really trying to figure out where some partnership or some collaboration, or what could we really learn from each other. So that's what I got out of the breakout room, that connection is so important.
Absolutely. And so to just take that one step further, you all know, because as Rayanne and Jonathan and I were introducing each other, like we go way back now, right? We've done a lot of work together, and having a partnership in this space is fantastic. It's so great to find our partners. Okay, so let's move on to when your audience is engaged. When your audience is really engaged, they are not distracted. They're not doing other things while they're in class with you. I know that's a dream, because like a lot of us do that. We kind of multitask, right? But the idea is you want people to get in there with you, doing what you're doing together. So they're not distracted. Instead, they're present. Okay. They're not isolated. They're not just, by themselves trying to learn it all alone. They're connected to one another. They're not critics and consumers. I love this distinction. Instead of just sitting back, being isolated, right, and looking through a critical lens or a consumption lens, it's more like they're contributing. They're actually adding to the outcomes. And it's less like, Jonathan gave me this one, I love this. It's less like going to a buffet and more like going to a potluck, right? So the whole idea is that we are having a potluck here today and everybody is going to contribute and bring their own genius and their own ideas to bear, okay? So that's what we want to be thinking about. We always want to keep that engagement front and center. It's not about the delivering the content as much as it is engaging and pulling the audience into the learning experience. We're going to talk a lot about that on Thursday. There's this guy I follow, his name is Chad Littlefield. I highly recommend him. He's part of a team with Will Wise. They run a company called We and Me, and his zone of genius is about really getting people engaged. He spent his lifetime doing this live. And then when we all went to a virtual environment, he's really pivoted and done some incredible work in how to create engaging online experiences. He says they come for the content, they come back for the connection, which I love, to say that, sure, people seek out the things that they know are going to help them content-wise, what they're looking for content-wise. What do I need to learn? What do I want to learn? Very important. But the reason that they keep coming back is for the connection between each other and the connection with sometimes with the presenter, with the content itself. So you want to make sure that that's a really sticky connection there. Okay. So let's talk about your why. I want to hear in the chat, if you would, put your hands on that chat and think about what you will gain personally from increasing the level of engagement in your courses and with your audience online. From everything you've said so far, I have a hunch that you already run pretty engaging online classes. But I think all of us could benefit from just paying attention to that part of our courses, always. So imagine that you just turned up the volume on that a little bit. You just sort of sharpened your focus on what it takes to make an engaging online experience for folks. And now I want you to think about what you personally, as the instructor, as the course creator, are going to gain as a result. How will you benefit from that? And it's okay that you benefit, okay? It's really okay that you benefit. And so, Jonathan, I don't know if you're open to reading the chat and kind of watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
But well, I don't see anything.
All right, I see repeat business from Dan.
Okay.
Rayanne also agrees with that, and more feedback from participants so she can grow. Joel talks about just really not wanting to waste people's time and having something that benefits their lives where they say, wow, that was really worth the investment of my time.
Nice.
Nicole wrote, a feeling of connection and shared knowledge.
The ahas.
Yeah, a lot of us miss the classroom, right? We miss being live and in person with our people. And so we've got to figure out ways to have that kind of connection, even in this online environment to the highest degree that we can. Okay.
All right, I see from Samantha, leaders that I am teaching in my online trainings will practice what they learned and actually benefit from the training. So that uptake of learning and the results.
Yeah.
Lisa wrote, creating a following that promotes your class.
That's right.
Dan wrote, satisfied clients.
Excellent. How gratifying is that? I love it.
Oh, we're seeing some more good ones here. The aha, when people get it.
Yeah.
And just this desire to learn more about how to engage with and connect with the audience.
Absolutely. When you understand your audience needs, you talk to them, you know them, you get to understand where they're coming from and what they're struggling with. You can modify your course to fit and to help. And at that point, right, you get that thing. They came for to get a specific kind of result. You're going to deliver that result because they're engaged. They're going to come back for more, which is, again, so personally gratifying. I know for me and for Jonathan, Rayanne, and I would talk about this all the time, just that great feeling of actually helping people, getting that breakthrough moment. We love that feeling, right? And as instructors, that's pretty universal. We're pretty much all in it for that on some level, for sure.
I love what Clark says about personalizing the content, because I feel it's almost like a prescription. We need to know what the clients need, and we need to be able to deliver exactly the dose and what they're going to need to be better at whatever they want to be better at. And I think that's for a trainer, you feel great if you've done that. And if you've missed the mark sometimes, you don't feel so wonderful about that. So you want to have that feeling of accomplishment, that you really gave that person exactly, that whole class, exactly what they needed to be better at whatever they need to be better at.
Yeah, and from a contracted director perspective, you know, I do a lot of the upfront kind of business development needs analysis with clients. And I really try to make sure I do a good handoff to the trainers so that they understand the context. And I'll frequently invite a trainer in at some point in that conversation with the client so they can engage and communicate and make sure that they really get on a real deep level what the client wants and needs. And so I encourage you, if you're just handed something, to really ask questions and make sure that you're able to understand why it is that the client wants something, a little bit about their culture, everything that you need to be able to walk in there and successfully connect with your audience and give them what they're hoping for.
Absolutely.
A quick example is we're doing a business writing class for construction workers. Now, they send a lot of email, but what they really struggle with is when there's a mistake, when somebody had to knock down a wall and there were extra costs. And so we really spend a lot of time on how do we write bad news and position it in a way that the client or their customer is going to not blame the company or be liable in a legal situation. We spend a lot of, I like to do the good, the bad, and the ugly responses and have it like a little bit of fun, right? This is going to get you in the courtroom, you know, so I'll do fun things like that. And they really appreciate it. So it's not just textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's see now. We've got a new participant, Jeanette. Hello, welcome. Are you here with us? Hi.
All right.
You're muted, Jeanette. There it is.
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Apologies, a little confusion with finding the link and things like that.
I'm so glad you're here. So glad. Thank you for sticking with it. You're here now. Jeanette, tell us where you're from.
I'm from the facility that I work at is in San Bernardino, California.
Okay, great.
But I'm a New Yorker, so.
Okay. Originally a New Yorker. Huh? Okay, great. Thanks, Jeanette. So glad you're here. Okay, and you're just in time because we're just about to launch a quick poll. I just want to ask you guys, I want to get a little data here because I'm going to launch the poll and I'm going to ask you here about how large are your typical virtual trainings. I want to know what size audience you're working with. Are you in that 0 to 12, that smaller audience, maybe the 13 to 30 range? Over 30, it's bigger than a typical classroom, 30 to 50, right? Or 50 plus, anybody in that really large audience range? Let's see, got here.
I'm not there, but I want to be there.
Where on the 50 plus?
On the over 50.
Yeah. Okay, great. Sophia, tell me why. What's the why for that? I'm just curious.
Greater impact.
Yeah.
With a small amount of time and commitment and, you know, on the freeway and all of that.
Yeah.
Broader reach.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Very good. Yeah, I'm with you for sure. I am going to thank you. Everybody has voted. I'm going to share the results here. Okay, so it looks like our poll is, we've got lots of people in the 0 to 30 range and just one person in 30 to 50. Okay. And so nobody just yet in that 50 plus typically. But I agree with you, Sophia. I like them all. I like them all. I like big and small, but I have been moving more toward trying to offer things that have large audiences. And it's great for exactly the reasons you said, just broader reach. And you can create some really cool community and you can do some really cool things, right? When you've got really large audiences, you've got a little more budget to work with then, because if your people are paying per person or something like that, it's awfully nice. So very good. Okay, we just wanted to get a read on that. So let's go on back to our slides. And oops, where'd it go? Here we are. Oh, funny.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting thinking about the different size groups, because obviously all of us these days are in lots of different presentations. And then we're also looking at how do we create the different types of engagement for different size groups. And, you know, we had a lot more people registered for this morning. And so even as we saw people coming in and we saw the size group, we said, okay, let's modify this and that.
Yeah.
And so really being able to kind of dial it up or down on the types of strategies you're going to use within the training based on how many people actually come is something to keep in mind too. Kind of like your toolbox, your bag of tricks that you have to be able to turn the dial up or down.
Absolutely. You get a group of 12 or so, and it can be very intimate, right? I mean, a group of 4 or 5, of course, you probably won't do so many, you probably won't do breakouts and things like that. But like a group of 12, you can still use your breakouts, etc. So lots of stuff like that. So we're just going to look here at this circle. This circle is going to show us in the orange things that we're going to talk about today, and in the blue things that we'll talk about on Thursday. But honestly, they all kind of morph together, because all of the things that we're talking about in these first 2 classes are really about how to create an experience of transformation and engagement. So what creates an engaging online experience? First time, we call it real-time engagement, like the things that you do in class to get people to show up, right? These are the breakout rooms and the polls and you know, the interaction that we have, stuff like that. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. So real-time engagement. The next thing, making progress, okay? Especially if you have a longer engagement. If it's not just one class, people want to know that they're making progress, that they're moving toward the end goal, okay? So let me go to line dancing here, because I think that would just be so cool, right? So you want to know, what am I going to learn first? What am I going to learn second? Like, how is this all going to work together, right? So then I feel like when I show up on day 1 and I'm super clumsy and I don't understand what's going on, et cetera, Joel, you can help me feel that I'm making progress. So Claire, this is how you're supposed to feel after the first time you ever line dance, right? And this is how you're supposed to feel after you show up 3 times. This is how you're supposed to feel a little bit farther down the road. And then that way I don't get discouraged, because I know this is what it feels like to make progress. So really thinking big about the journey that you're taking your audience members on and helping make that journey transparent to them helps them feel that they're making progress. So we're going to go into that as well. A sense of community, having people rely on one another, just like that quote that we showed a little bit earlier. People come for the content, they come back for the connection, they come back for the community, for the connection, for each other, right? When we put you guys into groups and we start working on how you're going to get your certification, and then later, you know, if somebody here isn't following through, it's going to feel sad. You want your people to keep showing up and to help you get through as you make progress. Now, other things we're going to talk about is just really having compelling content and designing your content so that it draws us in. So we're going to do that a lot on Thursday. And also we're going to talk about how to make things immediately applicable. Really, really important. You have to know your audience. You have to know what their interesting, their sort of pain points are, so that you can satisfy those pain points very, very quickly. So those are all things that we will work on together. Okay, let's start with connected content. We're going to start with talking about the people and the experience first. By all means, what you want to do is make sure that you are meeting for a purpose. These are ways that you're going to overcome the isolation of the virtual environment. Okay, you're going to do something that's called connect before content. And we're going to focus on real questions and fewer distractions. So the big picture here is like really making sure that you understand the needs of those people and put the experience that they have first. So let's just talk about connect before content real quick in this course. It's not like always the very first thing that you do, but we try to get you into a breakout room lickety split. Okay, we want you to connect with one another. If you have a small class, you could just do a quick round robin. You shut off your slides and you just introduce one another. One way we tried to work with that today is to make sure that as people are arriving, they're putting their names in the chat, we're welcoming them, we're using their names, etc. So put the people first. It's all about the people, okay? Using real questions and fewer distractions is really important. What that means is fewer questions that are, how do I say, just sort of simplistic, and more about getting people to think and really engage their minds in the pursuit of your content. Okay, deeper questions, more time in breakout rooms and less time listening to lecture, that kind of thing. Okay, so always be thinking less about what content do I have to deliver to you and more about what experience do I want you to have, or what experience is going to help you learn. That's the key shift that we're going to make. Okay. When I say fewer distractions, what we mean by that is less shiny objects flying around. That's not real engagement, right? You don't need to have 1,000 polls and 100 breakout rooms and all this stuff going on all the time. You need to have good quality content first and foremost that helps people connect with each other and with the experience. So always putting that first, always putting that first.
I'll just say a quick comment here. So I'm working with some other folks to design some beta trainings that are going to run this week for a client. And this sounds like such an obvious idea, content or connect before content, but we found that it's incredibly easy to overlook it and really get lost in the content side of it. And so just having that phrase as part of your template as you build out every training allows you to think about throughout the training, how am I maintaining connection? So it's not just about, oh, let's do a quick icebreaker at the beginning, but how do I maintain that connection throughout the training to the degree appropriate to the experience that you're trying to deliver? So that will look different for every type of content experience.
Right, absolutely. But as we'll see on Thursday, thank you, Jonathan. As we'll see on Thursday, often, like my mantra is do less, do less, do less. Only because, not because I don't want to give people content, but because you can give people other resources to read later and things like that, because people can only take in so much content anyway. So really thinking about what is the most important thing for us to do live and in person. Okay. We also want to make sure that we are making it personal. We break that wall. We try to do fun activities that get people to talk about the place where they are, for example, have a background that's personal to you, show an object that, you have here with you, walk around, use the space, these kinds of things actually do make the experience more engaging. So think about ways that you can break that wall that happens in an online environment and come into people's space a little bit, or at least let's do, even better, show them your space. Be willing to open that wall a little bit. I just did some things in one of my larger classes where I asked people to draw pictures and stuff like this. So we'll get to some of that. All of this is about getting that real-time engagement, So move, draw, share. What I mean by that is, so I'll tell you just the story behind this. So we were going to do, in a class I was teaching the other day, I asked people to tell me the feelings of being in a low engagement environment. And I had people scribble a little stick figure, you know, on a piece of paper here like this. Here, I'll show you. There was a little person walking along, head down, rain coming down, you know. And I was like, here's what it feels like to live in a sad, disengaged workplace. And so it's true that only a few people drew pictures, but I had, you know, enough people who were willing to draw their picture and hold it up to the screen that it actually was really engaging and very different, right? And so it was fun. It was really a fun kind of pause in the class. So why not? Try to think about ways that you can change it up a little bit. Share, here's my favorite book, you know, do this or that, so that people get a little bit more personal. Okay, comments on that, thoughts about that?
Yeah, humor. Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead and type in the chat, or if you want to shout out, like, what are some things that you do to break the wall? And I don't ever promise good humor. I probably fall more on the dad joke side, as Nicole said earlier, but humor is a good way.
Yeah, right.
Good body language.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think the making it personal is good, especially you as the trainer, kind of maybe being a little bit vulnerable yourself, in the sense that I really think creates connection rather than you appearing as the guru, you know, that everyone, you know, kind of just directs their attention to as the source of all wisdom and knowledge, you know, is just making it, you know, kind of letting a little bit of yourself show through, helps to establish that connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely, Dan. I think that's so important. Telling stories, telling your own stories, letting other people tell stories. Clark was just saying humor and students safety stories. So good, right? They should be telling their own stories to one another. If you can share in a large group, great. And if not, then by all means, sharing those in breakout sessions. Okay, what else do we have over there? Activity regarding a video. Yeah, sure. Show video, use music, all kinds of things, right? Okay. For humor, I created a channel inside of Slack. Okay, that's great. I love that. Yeah, humor is great. Rayanne's great at humor. She's always making me laugh.
She's got serious stories.
Yeah.
You'll probably hear some more in our next session.
Yep. And this is great, Rayanne, using Google Docs and a whiteboard. We're gonna talk about that in just a few minutes. And Chris, since I teach medical billing, I tell them why they'll become better patients. Yes, because they'll have a better understanding about the medical billing process. Very good. Making it really
I just want to say real quick before we move on, Claire.
Yeah.
What Chris put in the chat is really about connecting your why to the audience's why. And if you can successfully do that, then they will be deeply engaged, even if the connection side is not as strong. But if you have both of those together, the connection and the connection to why, then you're going to have a really powerful takeaway for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, the next part of this is just knowing your platform. Now, we looked at the surveys. Some of you completed some surveys, and we thank you for that. When we looked at the surveys, we realized that most people are using Zoom, so that's great. But there's a lot of different platforms that could be useful. Jonathan's got one link to an article, if you don't mind putting that in chat, Jonathan, that just compares some of the pros and cons of the most popular platforms right now, which are Zoom, MS Teams, and Google Hangouts. So if other people use other things, it sounds like, at least from the folks who completed the survey, it sounds like Zoom is the most popular. But instead of going into all of the platform stuff, which, by the way, I just want you to know that when we did this class the first time, right after the pandemic hit, we spent a lot of time in the Zoom platform itself, just on the basics. Like, know the basics for sure and teach yourself the basics. But now at this point, most people are very familiar, right? How do you do breakout rooms? How do you use a poll, etc.? So instead of doing that this time, we really just thought we want to encourage you to just use the tools, and we're going to go over a few common tools that we really like, right? So breakout rooms, of course, love breakout rooms. I personally, I don't know how to do breakout rooms in MS Teams. So I just always try to use Zoom when I can, because that's where I'm comfortable right now.
And can I just say, with larger groups, I just taught a class with 350 and they did not have the ability to do breakout rooms, even though we were on Zoom. So make sure you ask the clients, are they all going to be, and another example is we taught a business writing class and it was a whole group around a table in the cafeteria. So they were all watching on one screen. They couldn't really participate. You need to know these things before you set up your class and figure out ways to get them involved as well. So for the cafeteria group, they wrote on paper and then were able to share in chat, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So important. Thank you for saying that, Rhiannon, because man, I'll tell you, that happened to me too. I did a meetings class and we had like 4 people in one room and then other people on Zoom, you know, in their own individual spaces. And it's really tricky. So you've got to really think through those different, configurations in order to meet their needs properly.
So it's really thinking about, okay, what is the platform that I'm allowed to use? And sometimes the client will give you a choice.
Yeah.
If you don't have a choice, don't panic, but really think about, okay, how do I want to create an engaging experience within this platform? And then what do the tools allow me to do?
Yeah.
It's also very common these days to have a producer.
Yeah.
Which at its basic level is just another person to help you with the tools of engagement.
Yeah.
So you can invite another trainer, and that's where having a community of other people that you can work with, especially when you're just getting started. We did that a lot for each other, especially in the beginning. It was just showing up and helping to facilitate. So those are, the real thing is, how do you create the experience? It's less about the specific platform or the tools.
Absolutely. Rhiannon, do you want to go through some of these other ones as I populate them?
Sure. So we've all used chat today.
Yep.
And be aware that some people, English is not their first language, and it takes them longer to type and to get their thoughts out and chat. So some people actually prefer to be unmuted and be able to orally communicate. So even though we're using chat, asking people if they're comfortable using chat or knowing your audience again. Today we've also used polls. Be careful with polls. You want to make sure that they're relevant and that people will say, oh, because a lot of times we want to compare ourselves to other people. What are they doing? What are we doing? What can we learn from these polls?
Yeah.
Very interesting. A feedback poll, a poll that we use for feedback. Managers felt that they gave adequate feedback. 90% of them said, oh yes, we give adequate feedback. And then we did a staff poll and only 30% thought managers gave adequate feedback. And so you can use those polls strategically.
Yeah.
Without names.
As long as they're anonymous, right?
Right.
Be careful what you ask for.
And I think you'll notice that I have a little office, and Claire's using her regular office, and I think Jonathan has a background. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Unsplash, UNSPLASH, fabulous free backgrounds, graphics, beautiful content. You'll see that in a lot of our pictures. We use the source Unsplash. So think about what your background, I teach yoga as well. I'm a certified yoga instructor, so I will have a Zen background when I do my meditation workshops. They don't want to see me in an office with a jacket, right? So think about, what is your background conveying about you, your credibility, like the color scheme. I don't know if you've ever watched some of those videos. I watch them all about how you can look better on Zoom when you're old. I watch all of those. And they talk about not wearing green, because the green screen with the green background, you never want to wear the color green. You want to wear bright colors. And you also want to think about anything that's distracting.
Yeah.
What's going on in your background? I have grandkids and kids. They cannot come in the room. The door is locked, all right? Dogs, cats on your keyboard, etc. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
A funny story about one of my teachers said, what do you do when your student is obviously smoking marijuana while they're on camera? That's another issue. Also, share your screen. I often have my students share their screens. I'm teaching a couple of classes at the college right now, and I tell them, you are going to be sharing your screen. If they're creating a presentation or they're writing a business document, I have them share with the whole group. This works really well.
Yeah.
If you have a co-host as well. The reaction button down below, that little smiley face, people can give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down or any kind of waves. Use that, especially for large groups, that sometimes people like that better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depending on the age group, different reactions.
Yeah.
Today we are recording for people who couldn't make it. Make sure that you're ADA compliant. We'll talk a little bit about that, but these days we want to make sure that anybody who views the recording, if they are visually impaired, can also see the text, and that all of the pictures have an alt image, all those types of ADA compliant information when you're recording.
Yeah, let me just chime in on that. Like, why is recording an engagement tool? Well, I call it an engagement tool because it can actually help you keep people involved, or people who can't be there live. You can still share the recording with them to make sure that they stay engaged with the process. So if you've got like a 3-part course or a 5-part course, it's such a great tool. I find it to be a really good sales tool, even to say, okay, we've got the recording. So if anybody has to miss anything, and then you can actually even give reports to people and say, here's how many people have watched the recordings or how many people have shown up. One of the reasons we asked you to register by Zoom is because it's easier to get participation reports when people register. So that way we know a little bit more about the engagement.
And if you're using,
Can I see Joel has his hand up?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so recordings, I think, have been one of my biggest boons in using Zoom, because if I teach Microsoft Excel, there's people with a broad range of understanding, and they can go back between my classes and rewatch the whole class and get exactly what they need to do down in Excel. And similar with line dancing, I mean, they can go back and watch all the steps, review them, slow motion them. And yeah, so recording is like the best thing ever, I found.
Right.
I'll
Love that. Right.
I'll just add one quick note about that. You know, sometimes when you're working with different clients, they will ask about recording. Everyone has different policies, but where there is room for flexibility, there are cases where we'll make a recommendation. In fact, I made it yesterday on a call with a client not to record. And 2 reasons that came up in this particular case. The first is that the subject matter that the training was about was going to require people to get very vulnerable and to share some deep things that we thought they probably did not want memorialized for the rest of the company or for anyone else beyond that training. And so we advised the client that in this case, it would not be a great idea to record people. It would actually put a chilling effect on that group experience. And then the second reason was it can sometimes, especially if you're working with a company with a lot of different people, it can inhibit others from registering for the direct live interactive experience. They'll say, I'll just watch the recording later. And they miss out on the richness of the experience. And so really, all the reasons why everyone said recording is good are totally true and valid, but just consider for different circumstances
Yeah.
why you want to record and whether that's the right choice for that specific instance.
Absolutely.
And I also want to add, it also affects the bottom line because, for example, when I would go out twice to a company and do the same content for 2 different groups, now I'm doing it once and getting only 1 paycheck, right?
Right.
So you have to decide how to charge for that. And one more thing I want to add about recording for my classes, I will put strategic information at the beginning, middle, and end so that they have to watch the entire recording and they have to answer questions about the recording in order to get points. Sorry, I have a robocall on my wall phone. I don't know how to shut that off. In order to get points, they have to watch the whole video. So if you're teaching a regular class, figure out how you can make it, what you can do to make sure they watch the entire recording.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll move on to co-hosting. You see, we are co-hosting today. It's really great to have a co-host in case something goes wrong, your internet goes down. You know, the other day I had something go out on, outside on my door, lots and lots of noise where they couldn't hear me and I had to mute so the co-host could take over. Many reasons to do that. Another quick example too is if you set up a meeting in Zoom and then all of a sudden you can't attend the meeting, you can also give that co-hosting to someone else to take over for you. So you don't have to send out new announcements and new links to people that confuse them.
Yeah, it's also just more engaging to hear different voices sometimes,
Absolutely.
All right, spotlight.
So I think most of you know how to spotlight or pin yourself. So the main speaker can go up to the 3 dots on the corner of your little Zoom where you see a picture of yourself on Zoom. Hit those 3 dots and you can pin yourself so that they see you all the time. Right now I'm pinned or spotlighted. So the host has spotlighted my video. You can take that on or off. I don't know if that's a good thing. Some people don't like to be spotlighted, so make sure they know they are going to be spotlighted. At least some of my students don't.
That's
like
good for recording though, right? That's really good for recording. If you want to make sure that you're recording and because you're the host, you want to make sure that your video is primary at all times, then you might want to use that pin feature. So, okay, for sure. And
also what's one thing is not on here too, but the renaming feature in the same area. Sometimes we actually ask people to use their preferred pronouns, add that to their name or their nickname, etc.
Yeah. You can have people rename with a nickname or something fun sometimes.
Yeah, with a nickname. Or even if you're doing like an MBTI, I can put I could put my letters on there.
Yeah.
NFP. Yeah. All right.
Have your teams have people in breakout rooms work in teams and have them name their team and put their team name in there.
Yeah,
you can do video view.
Yeah, you can do lots of cool things with the renaming. So also video view right now you're spotlighted, so I don't know if you want to take that off, Claire.
I am?
Yeah, for me you are.
Oh, I don't.
Are you going to do your view? If you go up to the upper right-hand corner in Zoom, you've got your standard side-by-side speaker, side-by-side gallery, full screen. Decide how you want to see the slide with the speaker next to them or the speaker on top. There's many different ways you can view the people who are in the meeting.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm doing the whole gallery so I can see everyone's face. I love that. Eyeballs are really important. People feel connected. And we like to encourage them to have their cameras on if at all possible.
Yeah. So different apps, of course, different platforms have different features, but these are things that we find very useful for creating engagement. So you'll want to think about which features your platform has and how to maximize that. We also want to make sure that you're using, we want to encourage you to use dynamic apps. We already used one, we used Mentimeter. We're going to use another one shortly, but dynamic apps can make your training more novel and memorable and interesting, which are also forms of engagement. Like the reason I want to differentiate here between novel and interesting, and what we've talked about so far is that we've said, the real core of engagement is meeting the needs of the people in the room. So it's always thinking about there are people in front of those other cameras. What do those people need? How can I engage those people? Okay. Whereas a lot of times, you guys may have been in classes like this. People will use all kinds of apps and all kinds of tricks and, you know, shiny object stuff, which is novel and it's memorable and it's interesting, but it's different than really meeting the needs of the people in the room. Do you see the distinction there between those two things? I think one thing that often happens as we start to get into an online environment is that we start with novel, memorable, interesting. That's kind of where we start, right? We want to learn how to use the polls and the this and the that. But a deeper level of engagement is available to you, which is more driven by the needs of your audience. It's people, it's about the people and their participation and what they take away. So do both. Make it novel, memorable, and interesting, but don't stop there. Don't just do that. Okay, so let's talk about just a couple of the ways that people do this. Jonathan, do you want to address
Yeah,
some of
and
these?
Claire, actually for this slide, could you just populate
Yeah.
all of those?
Yeah.
And I'll just go through real quick because we're gonna do something right after this that I want to move on to.
Okay. How's that? There it is.
There's one, there we go. So the big picture here is really choose the right tool for the right job, right? Think about what you want to deliver, what you want that experience to feel like, or the learning that they need to get, the connection they need, and then choose accordingly. So it's really about getting familiar with, at first, a handful of basic different tools that are available, and start deploying them strategically into your different trainings at different times. And as you gain comfort in them, you can move on to other ones. So some of the ones we've already used today, you know, the polling, the Mentimeter, obviously video clips and music. There's different apps for those that you can insert. When you're sharing your screen, you definitely want to be careful to click that button, optimize video, at the bottom before you click share. I've been on both sides of that, where I've forgotten to click that button and where other people are forgotten, and knowing when to abandon ship on an app that's not working is also a good strategy. And sometimes even with the best of connections, things get shaky and you just need to be ready to let go of that particular thing and have a backup.
Yeah.
We did word clouds. I haven't personally used those a lot, but I enjoyed that earlier today. The whiteboard feature in Zoom, some people like that, some people don't. But Google Docs can also be a great place for people to have a play space for different ideas. I've seen Ray use that extensively. I personally really like a Jamboard. It's a free tool that's part of the Google kind of the mashup there. You can just choose it as one of the options, and there's different things you can do with Post-it notes there, all kinds of fun stuff. Mural is also a tool I've just used a little bit, but a lot of people swear by that. And you know, Google Forms can also be something that you can use pre and post and sometimes during. So it's really about starting with a few tools and few apps and getting familiar with them, and then expanding as you go and trading tips with other trainers. And
Yeah.
if you see someone use something that you like, you know, contact them afterwards and say, hey, how did you do that? Is there a resource? Can I watch that?
Right.
And you just expand your repertoire as you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I
Okay,
just say
so
the forms are really cool if you're giving a quiz. I teach sexual harassment training, and so at the end they have to take a quiz, and then I can see which questions they're getting wrong. So then I understand, you know, they're all come in one document, and I can really see where I need to spend more time so that they all can pass the test at the end. So I use all the Google Forms. I think they're phenomenal.
Yeah, I also run a RHR's Internal Professional Development Academy, and we use forms extensively. It's amazing how versatile a lot of the different Google apps really are.
absolutely.
And I wasn't paid to say that. We just find that they're very useful. All right,
Okay,
let's move
so
on.
this goes to, now we're gonna put you back in some breakout rooms, let you share your own genius there. And let's see, I think Jonathan, is it
Yeah.
okay with you if we do, how many people do we have? Maybe 4 people in a room and 10 minutes? Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me
Okay,
get that
let's
set
go
up
4
here.
people and 10 minutes. And what we want you to do when you get into your room, some people will have more experience with this than others, but we want you to talk about at a deeper level now, the strategies and engagement tools that you are most comfortable with now. And most importantly, what you can add to your repertoire, given just what we've talked about, what we've introduced here. Of course, these are probably all reminders to you at this point. You may have been exposed to many of these things. Some things you might think, oh no, I haven't tried that yet, but I'd like to, etc. So have this discussion about what you can add to your repertoire and how you'll do it. We want you to try to get a little bit specific so that you leave here with a well-developed plan for what you want to explore next to increase engagement in your online courses. Here's the little camera at the top. Again, we encourage you to take a screenshot here so that you can, you have those instructions when you get into your room. And make sure that you share at least one tool that you will use or have used to increase interaction in your course. Okay, so we want you to come back with, you know, sort of the beginnings of a plan for yourself about how you're going to integrate something new. Good. Okay, while you are in your breakout rooms, I encourage you folks to stand up and stretch while you're in your breakout rooms with others. Okay, take a little movement break and talk to one another while you're doing.
All right, moving in 3, 2, 1. All right, everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. So just a quick share out. If anyone wants to share something that impacted them or that they heard that was helpful or useful in the breakouts, you can go ahead and just take yourself off mute and share.
We were talking about different backgrounds to get a form of engagement, and Joel was saying how he likes using pictures of where he goes on vacations, because people always ask, what is that in your background? And so it allowed him then to start a conversation about what that background is.
Nice.
Yeah, I've heard of history teachers doing that too, where they'll start with the background of the location for the lecture that they're going to be doing, or they have a contest, like who can guess where this is first. So that's kind of fun. People like contests.
Yeah, nice.
All right, and I see Nicole changed her background.
I did. I was at Hogwarts Castle and now I'm on Cherry Tree Lane.
Love it.
Awesome.
It looks beautiful.
All right, what else? What else from
This
your
is
session?
Sophia. This is Sophia, and I learned I have been using video clips. However, I've been opening them up and leaving them on my desktop, and then the participants can see me moving and doing all of that. And what I learned in my breakout is that I can put the link in the PowerPoint and just click on the link and smooth sailing. So I'm really looking forward to that. And also that I need to learn, on my plan, is to learn more about the Google Docs and the forms, because I too facilitate preventing sexual harassment in the workplace. And so that would be a plus for me there. On my plan, I'm going to learn to use music more smoothly. I've not used the whiteboard, so I have a plan to do that. And I've been in an audience where the wheel of names have been used. And so I plan to look for an opportunity to do that as well.
Nice.
Awesome. Thanks, Sophia. All right, we're going to ask just one more person, and then we have 25 minutes left. So we're going to keep moving. So just one more quick sharing out, something that impacted you.
I learned that there's a lot that I do not know, but as I was saying in our group, that if you go to Zoom's free training and everything that you can do anytime, and there's a wealth of information on there if you take the time to learn it.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Claire, take us away.
Okay. All right, my friends, we are going to move into a new area now. We've talked a lot about just getting engagement, real-time engagement in class. And now we're moving into this next tier, basically about making progress. So remember that making progress, the reason that making progress is part of an engagement strategy is because our brains love to achieve goals. We really, really do. Goal setting literally changes the structure of your brain. So it's optimized to achieve that goal. So when somebody has a goal and a goal gets embedded in there, it makes it easier for us to go after it. And then when we get emotionally attached to those goals and motivated, we evaluate obstacles as less challenging. So that's why so many of you said at the beginning, what makes an engaging online experience? Well, you said like the why, having a reason, the purpose, why we want to learn it. Well, part of that is because that's an implicit goal that we're setting in our minds. As achieving goals, or the pursuit of goals, is really what it is, stimulates the production of dopamine, which makes us feel good, okay? So there's this sort of underlying structure for us about why goal setting and gamification and progress are fun and unique, and we should utilize them to get higher engagement. So we want to introduce one idea here called the success path. And I alluded to it before, even when I talked about, the line dancing, for example. I'm going to keep using that, Joel, because I love the idea of learning line dancing online. But the success path is basically your plan as an instructor for helping people move from where they are to where you want them to be. Thinking about their journey and then mapping that journey, giving them a map for that journey that helps them see, where am I on the path? And this can be graphic, like the one on the page now. This is a graphic orientation of what's called the people leader journey. I helped develop this people leader journey for one of my clients. And so basically, this was the stages that someone was going to go through while they're becoming a people leader at this company. And it was a long journey. So we wanted to show them like, hey, you start here and then here's where you go and here's how you get here. And along the way, you've got extra opportunities for training and growth, etc. So we just graphically oriented ourselves to this people leader journey. Okay, so it took a long process and we break it into things that are manageable so that people feel like they're making progress. Okay, so let me show you a couple more. That was sort of a nice graphically done one. This is one I just did for a course that I'm teaching called the Evolve Leadership course. And so it's just different, right? We start here, and then we do the foundations, that's stage one, and then we understanding and engaging your team, et cetera. So we walk through these different stages of the journey. So that's fun. And then you can use that for a lot of different things. One of the things I do is I create a success checklist that goes along with the success path, basically. And so each class they get, it's just a checklist. Just do these things first and people go through, and as they check the boxes, they know they're making progress. Okay. So let me I'm going to walk you through how to build the success path, because trust me, as instructors, you do this already. And so for me, the magic has come in really deciding and saying to myself, I'm going to clearly create a success path. I'm going to use it for the structure of the course, and I'm going to make it transparent to people in one way or another, so they feel like they're making progress. So again, it's something you're probably already doing, just bringing your attention to it and bringing it into focus for folks. So let me just show you how to map this out. We'll go through this rather quickly. You think about what you're doing in stages. So here we've got 5 stages. So you can do 3 stages, 5 stages, 7 stages. I would not recommend going beyond 7 stages. It's too many. People feel overwhelmed. But in stage 1, you just say, where are they starting? That's it, okay? And then you compare it to stage 5, which is where do you want to take them? So where are they now? Where do you want to take them? Quite straightforward, okay? Then you just come up with milestones. What's the first milestone? the next, and the next. Oops, and I see this funny thing is doing something interesting up at the top corner. That's all right, try to ignore that. Where do they start? Where do you want to take them? What are the milestones? What are some milestones in between that are major milestones, okay? So now, if we apply this to you, or how Rayanne and Jonathan and I were thinking about this class, we say, okay, we're working with trainers that have a very varied amount of experience in virtual training. Where we want to take you guys is we want you to come away out of this experience with a dynamic and engaging course. So that's stage 1 to stage 5. Here's the places we're going to take you. First, you're going to understand the essence and importance of creating an engaging online experience. By the end of today, we will be past that milestone. So that's milestone number 1. The next milestone is that you're going to understand how to design content for transformation. We're going to do that on Thursday. And after that, we're going to do the final step, which is you're going to design and present, and you'll receive feedback on your course design. So you're going to go right through those stages. And after you do those things, you are going to achieve stage 5. You're going to come away with a dynamic and engaging course. Make sense? That's the success path. It was there all along. We just are going to make it more transparent for you so that, oops, sorry. Let me get forward here. Okay, so the simple progress slide just shows you that sometimes you can take that success path, and it doesn't have to be all complicated. You can just create a fill-in of a sort, right? So you have this right here, this one that says define your purpose. This is just one of our worksheets. This is just a worksheet that any of us might use for one of our classes. And in a sense, as you get people to fill it in as you go through class, they are making progress. Okay, so fill in the blanks. Here, if you look closely, the middle of this says our purpose is to blank so that blank, right? So when you say to somebody, now we've just learned how to create a purpose statement, you fill in this blank purpose statement. What's happening for people is that they are achieving the goal and they're achieving success, and that's helpful. Okay, so that's kind of the success path. We'll continue to come back to that on Thursday. We'll kind of build that into what we're doing on Thursday as well. But that's where that's the kind of thing we want you to think about. And let me take you back here just for another minute. We want you to think about where they start, where you're taking them, and some of the milestones in between. That's what we want you to really focus on in terms of this success path. Okay, so making progress being the one big thing that happens in our class. Yes, John.
Claire, quick question before we move to the next slide.
Yeah.
So someone asked about whether some of the templates are available. I believe in the Be an Amazing Trainer handout that they received ahead of time that this was, some of these things are in there, right?
We don't talk so much about the success path in that workbook, but I'd love to talk to any of you about the success path. If you want, I'm happy to share my template with you, and then you can, I can't really share necessarily the one that I created for that company, but I can share the one that I created for my leadership course, and I'd be happy to. Okay.
All right, so that will be coming. We can share a link to that or a PDF in the next session on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday I'll share that. Okay. Okay. So making progress, that's an underlying concept, really powerful. The next thing we want to talk about is gamification, which is taking that progress path and making it fun. Okay, that's what we're going to do next. We're going to make that progress fun. So you can do lots of fun things. You can reward people's participation. You can give badges and certificates as they go along. This is a certification course. You'll be certified at the end if you do all the pieces and parts, right? You can do contests, prizes, competitions, all of that stuff. You can unlock surprise and bonus content upon completion. And you can even do physical awards like badges and t-shirts and stickers, buttons, lanyards, things like that. All of that is possible and helps make a really engaging environment. So let's go quickly. Rayanne is going to show us something here. that was part of a course, a physical product that she got as a reward for a course that she was in.
So for the new year, as I mentioned, I'm a certified yoga instructor. And so the company I work for, we did a class called Healing from Home, Self-Care for the new year. And people signed up, and it was about $75 for the class. And you got a box that you were not to open until the day of the class. So it was all this excitement, you know, like what's in the box. And then as you open the box, you got a personalized letter telling you how wonderful you are with your name on it. And then each of the items you can see, there was sage to clear your space and essential oils. And that was all part of the class. So it was a yoga class with all these ideas for being self-nourishing throughout the year. And it was so successful. We sold out. We had only so many spots because we wanted to, again, build a community. And from that class, we actually were able to get a lot of new members for the new year and start other classes. We just started a conscious parenting circle based on what people needed now through the pandemic, and really listening to people helping us to build our brand and helping us to build more ideas for different types of classes.
Nice. Love it. Right. So giving, engaging people in these other ways. You don't always have budget for these things. We can acknowledge that. But a lot of times you can give away something small, just a little book, for example, or, something that's relevant to the content itself. Here's an example of a couple of things that I got from different classes. These are different courses I took, or this Be an Amazing Trainer is from the course I teach, stuff like that. So if there's room for a giveaway, it's kind of nice, it's novel, it's interesting, and it does help people feel connected, okay? So now we're gonna move on to community. We're gonna create a sense of community. This is kind of one of the last things we wanna talk about here. Creating a sense of community can happen even just with the gallery view. We've talked about this quite a lot. This is a class that I taught, and we had people do silly things, and we took pictures of all kinds of different stuff, and that was great. But creating community is something that you can really try to foster big time in your course, right? Connecting before content, having people go into breakouts, doing things like participant profiles, having people build out a little participant profile. Especially, we talked about this in some of those larger courses where it's harder to get to know people. If people can build a participant profile, and that can live maybe in Slack, or in my case, I have an online portal where I can host things for my larger classes. So that's kind of fun. It could just be a Google share. It could be lots of different things. Having people work in pods where they come together and they work together over a series of courses. You can do Q&A sessions that are smaller. If you're doing large events, you can do these Q&A sessions. Sometimes name dropping, talking about people in the class or the success that they've had. That's really fun. That creates community. It helps people feel like they're part of something. You can create community with a Facebook group, like we talked about the Slack channel, right? So that's a really important thing. You can do things like lunch and learns, again, smaller breakouts. You can set up mentors and mentoring relationships for people who want to opt in. And by all means, tell the success stories of the people in the class. So that's a lot of fun. Even Jonathan mentioned earlier, not by name necessarily, but talked about how wonderful it's been. And Rayanne mentioned that she's in our last group, there were 3 people who she's still working with. So we stay connected to all these folks. And that's, in a sense, like telling a success story from this kind of a class. We want to always create community. Of course, real community and real engagement happens when we're really focused on including people. So we need to meet all ADA guidelines. Make sure your visuals and examples and stories are representative of your group, of course, and inclusive for your audience. We always want to make sure that that's true. So there you have it. Anything else? We're going to go into one. Do we have time for our one last breakout? Oh, it's 10:20 already.
I was thinking, instead of going into the breakout,
Yeah.
that we just kind of have a short group discussion.
Yeah, let's do it.
For that last one. And I'll just say one quick thing about the ADA guidelines is there are guidelines. It really depends on what your situation is. In this case, for example, before these videos can be put up on the state website, we'll need to have them transcribed professionally. And so we pay for that process. And then that's what is required before it gets transcribed. If you're not looking for that level, but you just want captioning and you're not too worried about the ADA side of it, but just to have something that's a simple capture, Zoom itself can do that. Google Hangout, when you do Google Slides, you can turn on captioning. So you really need to think about, also if you get a request ahead of time, where someone does need to have something transcribed, you need a live person. And there are services that provide that, where someone can do live captioning throughout the time. And so we would have done that if we had gotten a request ahead of time. So you just want to think about what your situation is. And your college also has guidelines if you're working for one of the colleges, and they probably also have services that they're already paying for. And so you can get better deals on those services through the colleges that you work for.
If you're doing your own videos, YouTube also will do a transcription for you. I understand. I haven't used the YouTube. I always use the Zoom, and then I go in and edit because Zoom doesn't capture everything perfectly. It's kind of like text when you want to text something and you use your phone and it gets the word wrong. So you usually have to go in and edit that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shut this off for a minute. And let's just do kind of a general chat here for a second. In fact, why don't, Jonathan, if you want to just sort of call out, sort of manage the conversation a little bit, what I will do is I'm going to go grab those, a couple of handouts that we want to share with you guys before we close out.
So 2 questions to put out. You don't have to answer both, but you can choose one. So the first is thinking about that roadmap, the success path. How do you think you might use that idea in training that you design? And then another question is about creating community. How might you go about creating community? So I'll put those 2 questions in the chat. You can just decide to choose one of them and answer. And you don't have to write in the chat. You can speak up if you want. And we'll just do this for a few minutes.
So
I like the roadmap idea. Essentially, I mean, this looks like it's the same as, when you post your learning outcomes, on a PowerPoint slide or something like that. It just seems to be a more visual representation of what your learning outcomes are. And so I like that. It's a little bit more visually appealing than just, excuse me, listing learning outcomes. Excuse me. So I think that'd be a great way to, add something to my training.
And think about the company you're working with. I worked with Toyota and we were big on visuals. And so we would have things like thermometers when we were reaching the goal, or we would have circles like a pie chart where we would fill it in. But we also used a lot of cars, just like Claire did, because obviously we built cars, and we would use those as traveling down the path to every time we reached a milestone, we would get something, and it would be something small like a t-shirt or a badge or something like that. But everybody was encouraged to meet their goals in a very visual way, and that the company still runs on that kind of ideology.
All right, let's hear from just a couple more folks.
This is Sophia. And just to add to what Dan said, I'm in that same boat with reference to the success path. I offer a class for my clients that's called From Buddy to Boss. And I can see, I can visualize it. It's coming to me in my mind what that path is going to look like, because there's so many different segments of that journey.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. That's
all
really
right. Good. Great. Who else would like to share?
I think for my background being in construction, I think it's really important due to the perception of construction in the past and not realizing you have a starting point and all of the other industries that are involved as you go along, and how you can progress from that. And I think that's really important as far as marketing. I think it's really important for changing perception. And I think just for anybody to understand, I think a visual as opposed to a list although I love bulleted lists, I think are really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good. So the examples that Ray shared from the company, the different ideas that you shared, it's really about kind of shaking up how you normally do things to create something that's just more compelling and that you would want to experience yourself. And I know I've taken this into a training that I'm delivering later this week to a different audience, this idea of the success path.
Nice.
So just for the sake of time, we're gonna shift on to our next part here and talk about what it looks like to be certified as part of this process.
Right. All right. Jonathan, do you want to take this or do you want me to go over it? Either way is fine. I just put the capstone project in there's a link in the chat. So you can click that link and download this document. And also we've got it here on the screen.
Yeah, so basically the idea here is that we really want to give you the opportunity to demonstrate what you're learning. And so I won't read all of this, but the idea is that you're going to form into some groups and do some practice sessions around designing a short 20-minute training that you might deliver on a topic. And after you refine it based on that practice session, you're actually going to get a chance to meet with Claire or with Ray or with me in a small group, and each person will present for 20 minutes and we'll take notes. We'll give you real feedback. And I think the participants from last time found that super valuable, both on the content and your delivery. We know it's just a short kind of session, but it's really a chance to get some great feedback in a safe place. And then from there, you can go back and make further edits if you like. And once everyone has successfully completed that portion, then we will issue a certificate for that. And there's feedback forms. You can see everything in the document that Claire uploaded, how we're evaluating this. And it might look overwhelming right now because we're on day one. Trust me, by the time we get through next session, you'll feel really familiar with these concepts. And as we dive into the meat of the Thursday session, I think you're going to be really energized by what's possible, not only in terms of engagement, but incredible content. All right, back to you, Claire.
Yeah, any questions or comments about that? You know, we wanted to provide you something very tangible. So you know kind of what we're looking for in these little 20-minute presentations. And they're a lot of fun and really, again, like Jonathan said, after Thursday, you're going to feel really comfortable with all of this. But we wanted to give you this today, just so you have as much time as possible to be thinking about what that little 20-minute presentation might look like. I want to know if all of you are going to go for certification and be giving a 20-minute presentation. What do you think? Who is in? If you're in, give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, I'm so happy to see that. Good, that's what we want to see. Excellent. All right.
I think I'm more interested in anyone who's in my group is going to be ready to learn line dancing.
I think that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share and we're just going to close out here together. We want to thank you all so much. Rayanne, any closing thoughts or words?
Just, I really appreciated the community today, the sharing, thinking about all of the ideas you heard. We tend to gravitate toward the kind of learning that the way we like to learn, thinking about maybe moving outside the box and really thinking about the audiences we're serving and how we could be even more engaging and creative in what we present.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll just share, you know, it's all about the choices that you make with what you've already created too. Like right now, there's a slide that we had planned to put up that just says, thank you. But instead we have a smaller group. Why not just go to Gallery View and connect with you directly and just say, thank you for being part of this journey with us. We're super excited for you. We love doing this. And we really are hopeful that by the end of this time, you're just gonna be turbocharged with lots of great ideas and connections.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, everybody. You know, we are going to dive in on Thursday. Just a little reminder, our class on Thursday is 4 hours. Trust me, it will go by very quickly. We're going to do stretching. We're going to do lots of breakouts. We're going to do some on your own time. We're going to do lots of good stuff. In fact, what was the thing we heard last time, Rayanne and Jonathan? Like everybody was like, oh my gosh, that went by so fast. So just make sure you bring some water and your creative mind, and we will take great care of you. We're so excited to be working with all of you. I'm looking around my room here. And unless there's any closing remarks, we don't want to keep you. And so we will see you on Thursday, same time, same channel, same Zoom link. Now that you're in, we'll see you at 8:30 Thursday morning. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. See you Thursday.